The first thing that you learn, it is the first thing that you learn when you love a trans young person and you live in a red state, is that you have to protect them from their government. The first people I told that my kid was trans, before we told his grandparents, before we told his rabbis, before we told his friends, we told the General Laws Committee of the Missouri House, because we knew immediately that we had to protect him. The first people I told were Pharaoh. There's this story in the Zohar, the ancient mystical text of the Jewish people, that says that when you entered into Pharaoh's palace, it was like a snake coiled in itself, that every step you took was deeper and deeper into supernal evil. And this is what it feels like when you walk into our state capital in Jeff City. It feels like you are walking into Pharaoh's palace. The depravity, the misogyny, the sexism, the transphobia, the white Christian nationalism, it oozes from the walls. We go again and again and again on this terrible pilgrimage to beg the Pharaohs of the Missouri Legislature to let our children go. It's year after exhausting year. We had 18 bills that we faced this year. 18 bills targeting trans kids. We leave at 4:30 in the morning to drive 2 hours so that we can have 2 minutes to beg them to stop terrorizing our kids and our families. And it's terror, it is trauma. It is trauma for these kids who have to sit there and listen to elected representatives, their elected representatives, ask them if their parents are groomers and pedophiles. Ask these kids, ask 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds what their genitals look like in Senate hearings. And it's trauma for us adults. I've started having a panic attack every night before I go down to Jeff City, terrified of what is to come for my family. In Texas, in Alabama, in more and more red states every day, government goons are showing up at the doors of loving, affirming families of trans kids and taking their kids away and charging these parents like me, kids like my kid, with child abuse. My wife and I are up in the middle of the night having the sorts of conversations that Jews had in Europe in the early 30s. Where do we go? When do we flee? When is it real enough that we actually have to leave? Is Illinois far enough? What happens when these people take over our federal government again? I need you to understand this. Every loving parent of a trans kid in a red state is up having these conversations at night. We all know the story of the 10 plagues in Exodus, but we often misunderstand them. We confuse them. When we think about their modern equivalents, we think about things that are wrong with our world today. We think about racism and transphobia. We think about climate change and misogyny. But the plagues in these stories are not the bad things. They're not the things that oppressed us. The plagues in the Exodus story were our tools of resistance. They were our tools of liberation. And so we must be the plague bringers and the truth speakers. We must never let the fascists and their fascists, we must never let the fascists and the bigots and the bullies win while we still have power and while we still have breath. We must be the voice in that room, in every room, that lovingly demands that trans kids be protected and respected. We will be the voices in Pharaoh's palace demanding that they let go of our children, and I hope everyone here will come down with us. It starts in January and it goes until May, and they give you like 12 hours of notice to show up at 8 in the morning, and we pack that room every time. We will be the voices in classrooms and in schools and in synagogues and churches and in mosques and grocery stores, that saves trans kids' lives by loudly and proudly and unapologetically affirming their dignity and infinite human value. We will be the parents and the friends and the teachers who every trans kid that we encounter knows is a safe harbor in a fascist storm. And we will commit that here in Missouri, we will be in jail. We will be in jail before those goons take a single loved, affirmed, blessed trans kid away from their family. There is so much awfulness. I just want to share one little piece of light here, too. So if you see my shirt, I have a Camp Indigo Point shirt on. For those who don't know what Camp Indigo Point is, it's our brand new camp that we just started right out of Missouri for transgender, expansive, and LGBTQ youth, 2nd through 11th grade. They went and spent a week. We thought we were going to get 20 kids from St. Louis. We filled 97 bunks. We had 60 kids on the waiting list. We had 130 queer adults apply for our 29 staff positions. We gave out $12,000 in scholarships. We had a kid come from Alaska. And let me tell you, the most magical place at camp was the swim dock, watching kids who, many of whom haven't been in a pool or in water since they started puberty, being themselves and being free and just being kids. It's a vision of the world that all of us have to create. Thank you all.
Thank you. We're going to close out with one last song.